Hi friends, welcome back once again. In this tutorial, I will explain you about how I created a scene like this in Blender 2.8. Before going ahead, I want to introduce you some 3D objects which we are going to use in this tutorial. Here we have the floor object, the column, the wall and the wood. I made a detailed tutorial about how I created these models in 3ds Max. You can refer the tutorial from my channel if you are familiar in 3ds Max. The links are also included in the description. Else, you can also create these objects in Blender by following the same technique which I used in 3ds Max. Whatever it may be, I will provide you with the 3D models and textures for your practice. The downloadable link will be there in the description below. In addition to this, we have a tree object for creating the forest surrounded by the ancient building. This I created in Speed Tree. You can also download this object from the link in the description. Let's start creating the scene. Come to the Blender, import our floor object here, rotate this, switch to edit mode and subdivide it by few times. Back to object mode and create a new material for this. Click on use nodes and switch the viewport to shading. Delete these two nodes for this time. Add an image texture and diffuse BSDF node. Here open our created image texture, then connect this in the diffuse. Make a duplicate of this image texture and open our bump map here. Add a math node and change it to multiply. Then connect the bump map to the value and change the value to -4. Connect this to the displacement of the material output. Next, import our column object, scale it down, rotate it vertically, drag it up and place it over the floor. Make the column a little bit big and reposition it again. Come to the shading tab, delete these two nodes for this time. Add an image texture node and apply the created texture in it. Through a diffuse node, connect it to the surface of the material output. Duplicate this and put the bump map here. Add a math node and change it to multiply. Leave this value 0.5 for this time and connect the output value to the displacement. Have a look at the column. Yeah, it is okay. Next, we want to distribute this column object over the top surface of the floor as shown in the final render. Move this to here and adjust its position. Duplicate this and keep it over this corner. Reposition this column also. Select both of these objects and duplicate it 4 times. And position it properly as we have shown in the final render. Have a look at this arrangement. We need to make this column size a little bit smaller. Let's do that. Select all these columns, scale it down and reposition it again. Also, try to make some more gaps between the columns. Place 2 more columns here at the back side also. Have a look. Next, import wall object into our scene. Rotate it, scale it down and place this over here in between these 2 columns. Apply the texture on it. Use the same procedure which we followed earlier. This time change the multiply value to 0.2. Make a duplicate of this wall and place it one by one to make a connection between all of these columns. Next, import our wood object, rotate it and keep it on top of this column. Position it to the center, stretch it down along the x-axis and make sure that it touches on the top of the column object. Apply the created texture on it by repeating the same technique. This time change the multiply value to 0.3. Make 2 copies of this and place it over these columns. Make another copy, rotate it vertically and keep it here. Yeah, we almost completed the creation of our ancient building. Next, we want to create some fallen leaves over the surface of this floor. You can see here on the screen, we have 4 random looking leaf images. These all are PNG images with an alpha channel. You can also download these images from the links given in the description below. Let's start create the leaves. Come to the top view, add a plane. Position it to the center of the viewport and subdivide it by few times. Drag the random vertices up and down to create a displacement on this surface. And change all vertices to smooth. Duplicate it 3 times and make a random rotation. Move this object to a new collection. Come to the shading tab, create a new material, add an image texture node and connect it to the base texture input. Then put one of our leaf images here and connect the alpha output of the image to the alpha input of the principal shader. And change the blend mode to alpha clip. Same way, put the 3 leaf images to the remaining 3 planes. If the images are not fit on the surfaces, you can use the simple unwarping technique also. Now scatter these created leaves over the surface of the floor. Here I would like to show some reference images which I downloaded from Google. Have a look at these images. It shows how fallen leaves will appear on stair surfaces. We need to adapt the same thing in our scene. In Blender, we are using a particle system to scatter these leaves. Come to the Blender, hide everything in the scene except the floor, add a particle system, choose the hair for this time. Here you can see the hairs appeared on the surface. Change the number of hairs to 8000 and turn on this advanced. In source, make the distribution random, emit from faces, turn on the rotation and change the orientation axis to global Y. Put 1 in randomize. In render, change render as collection and choose our leaf collection here. Scale it down a little bit and apply a randomize value of 0.5. Decrease the value of rotation randomize and face randomize. In forces, increase the browning amount. Next, we want to add a vertex group here. Switch the object mode to weight paint and start paint on the areas where we need fallen leaves to appear. And apply the vertex group in density. You can see the changes here. The leaves appeared accordingly to the vertex group. Need some more adjustment on these values? First, decrease the number of hairs and put some fewer values in rotation and face randomization. Switch to weight paint mode again. Here you can see the leaves have appeared on the vertical surface of the floor. We don't need that. Fix it. Choose a substrate brush and start painting on the vertical surfaces. Set the number to 6000. Finally, we will get a result something like this. For a better understanding of scattering object using Blender particle system, I will recommend you a very good tutorial. Here you can see, this was from CG Geek. Create a realistic grass in Blender 2.8 in 15 minutes. This tutorial link also included in the description. You can watch it from there. Let's start to create the forest. Import our tree object here. This is in FBX format. Drag it to here and scale it up. Here you can see the advantage of this format. The object comes with an embedded texture which I created in Speed Tree. We do not have to create a separate shader for this in Blender. Select everything in the tree and join it. Come to the viewport display and change the display as bounds. Now this box is a replica of our tree. While rendering, it will appear as a tree. Create a plane, scale it up and position it somewhere here and drag it down along the x-axis. We need to scatter our tree object on this plane for making the forest. Again, put a particle system. This time set the number to 100. Enable the advanced and distribution to random. Check on this rotation. Set render as object and choose our tree object here. And in rotation, set orientation axis to object X. Increase and randomize its length. We don't need trees over these areas. So create a vertex group. Before doing that, subdivide this plane few times and switch to weight paint mode, and using an add brush, paint over the plane where we need trees to appear. Avoid this ancient building here and paint over the remaining areas. Apply this vertex group here in density. Next, we need to create a background. Add a cylinder, scale it up and position it to here. Switch to edit mode, delete these two faces and these all vertices too. Decrease its length by dragging these vertices down and the result will look like a semi-cylinder. Make it smooth, come to shading tab and apply an image texture on this semi-cylinder. Let's start set up the camera and light. Add a camera to our scene and adjust the camera angle. For this scene, I am choosing this angle. Next, adjust the sunlight. Select the sun and position it to here. Choose a little bit yellowish tint. Apply a green color to the plane where the tree objects were scattered. Import the tree objects once again and place it in front of our sunlight. This technique we are using here for casting the tree shadows on our ancient building. Switch the render engine to Eevee and make the render and viewport sampling to 256. Have a look at the render view. It's look pretty dark. Come to the world property and increase the strength by 2. Also increase the strength of our sun by 2.5. Hit on render. We will get our final output like this. Let's start color correction and manipulations. Open our render output in Adobe Photoshop. Here I added a hue and saturation adjustment layer, made the hue value -9, saturation -2 and the lightness -1. Next, I added a curve adjustment layer and increased the red and green value little bit. Then I added a female model here. Using the pen tool, I removed its background. And I added a curve adjustment layer on it and made the RGB value little bit down. Then I added a hue and saturation adjustment on the same layer. And here I made the saturation value to -7 and the lightness to -13. Next, using the dodging and burning tool, I painted some lights and darks on the model. Then I painted a shadow at the background using the paintbrush. Yeah, we completed. Here is our final output. Here I am ending this tutorial. Hope you enjoyed. Friends, you are watching tutorials from the Tute YouTube channel. For more tutorials, don't forget to subscribe this channel and also enable the bell icon for getting latest updates. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.